Hi, if you are someone who is suffering from chronic pain and your pain keeps coming back, it's probably not because your body is broken or something is wrong. It's possibly because you've been taught to look at it the wrong way. I'm Dr. Tia, and I am a naturopathic doctor and acupuncturist, and I've been specializing for a few decades now in chronic illness and pain. One of the biggest patterns that I see is that people are often doing everything they have been told to do, and they are still not getting better. And this is really an emotional journey that comes with a lot of suffering and a lot of struggle. And so I want to offer you a few insights into how we can really reframe our relationship to pain. So, as an acupuncturist, I am extremely passionate about the wisdom of the ancient Taoist sages, and very specifically how they were taught to kind of understand the ordering processes in nature, including the healing power of nature, and how to think about some of these key concepts in a new way that can actually create a little bit more liberation, a little bit more flow, and a little bit more ease in terms of how we understand our own bodies. So, of course, none of us likes pain, and we have really been taught to think of pain as something that is extremely negative. Of course, physical pain that comes as a result of injury and can ultimately turn chronic, things that can be a result of the stress of modern living. And then I also think of pain in terms of how it relates to emotional pain, mental and emotional pain. There is an ancient Taoist saying that goes, where there is pain, there is no movement. And where there is movement, there is no pain. So in Chinese medicine, we are often thinking a lot about stagnation, and that where we can alleviate stagnation, similar to how we feel when we are stuck in a traffic jam on the highway and all of a sudden something clears and we are driving again, headed back with the wind coming through our window and moving forward, feeling happier about our destination. When we allow our bodies to kind of free up and release some tension that may be causing stagnation, this is a way to alleviate pain. So, most of us think that as if we can get rid of the pain as soon as possible, then this is the most important thing. Unfortunately, this can lead to suppression, and suppression can worsen symptoms. So I am here to kind of offer this idea. What if pain is not the enemy, but it is in fact trying to teach you something important, and we've just been not taught the proper way in terms of how to understand it? Because we immediately try to silence pain, we often miss the message that's there completely. And I think that this is why so many of us do stay stuck. We try different treatments, we go through a lot of different supplements, we try different protocols, and they may provide temporary relief, but the pain keeps coming back. And I think one of the most challenging things with this is that when we feel pain, of course, number one, we feel afraid. What does the pain indicate? And is it something that's more serious? And so, fear, one of the responses we can often have to fear is tension and clinging. And if we are clinging and creating more tension, sometimes we're actually contributing to the pain that we are feeling. And the other piece about this is that because we are in search of temporary relief, one of the things that's coming out in neuroplasticity, there's a lot of scientific research going on in how the brain kind of creates these hardwired patterns, and what we can do to sort of reroute and create new neuronal pathways is that when we are looking for relief in a rapid way, we could also sometimes stop a treatment that is supporting our system too abruptly and begin something new, and this could actually interfere with our long-term results. So if you're experiencing temporary relief, but the pain keeps coming back, it may not be that there is something going wrong, because we possibly could be looking at only one piece of the picture. The body is not just physical, it is emotional, it is neurological, and it is even spiritual. And we can be influenced by how we process stress and our life experiences. What is our reaction to stress? And how well do we encourage movement gently in our own bodies? And so, all of these different types of issues have shown up in my work, and I often see pain patterns where the physical issues are connected to stress patterns. Digestive issues are often related to pain. If the gut is the core imbalance that is going on there, we can have pain in all different areas of our body. Bloating, we think of potentially only being a digestive discomfort, but when there is an imbalance in the gut and we may be eating foods that are ramping up our inflammation, we could actually be suffering from pain downstream, such as joint pain in the knees, the ankles, anywhere else on the body. And the root cause, as a naturopathic provider, I'm always looking for root causes, may be somewhere else in the body. So in Chinese medicine, as an acupuncturist, I'm always thinking about, there's this kind of phrase, where the pain is, it ain't, which basically means that wherever you're experiencing that physical pain, the root of the issue, or that traffic jam, the block where the original stagnation is, may be somewhere else. So we have to look at that. And of course, chronic inflammation is tied to that long-term overload, and we can miss the opportunity for deeper healing in pain. In many cases, pain is not random. If it comes from an acute injury, that's obvious. But if it comes up somewhere, or let's say we come in for treatment on a shoulder issue, and then all of a sudden we have pain in the elbow or the wrist, we may get a very, very afraid and think, uh-oh, I now have arthritis all over my body. And while we can do certain lab tests and things to look at this, actually pain moving, as I mentioned, according to this ancient saying, is not necessarily always a bad thing. It doesn't mean that there's a new issue where there's going to be a permanent problem. The only constant in your body is dynamic. It is always changing, just like the weather patterns outside. So the only constant is change. And a new pain, especially if it's downstream from a shoulder down to an elbow, could actually mean that pain is on the move, and pain is certainly information. So this is what we're looking to understand. So instead of possibly asking right away, how do I get rid of this pain? What if you started asking, what is this pain trying to tell me? That one shift can actually completely change your experience. For example, it may be telling you that the type of exercise you have been doing no longer is working for your body. If you've been a runner and now you're having issues with your knees, it may mean that adapting and shifting into a new type of exercise that is less, intense on the joints could be a shift. If there is pain that's popping up in the joints that seems to be random and moving around, this actually could be an indication of a gut issue or some kind of chronic issue elsewhere in the body. So these are the things that we can look for. So that one shift, as it can change your experience, what is this pain trying to tell me? Is there something in my lifestyle that needs to change? In naturopathic medicine, we refer to these things as an obstacle to cure. For example, a job situation, a difficult relationship, some kind of trauma that has been with us for a very long time that kind of keeps knocking at the door. We haven't uncovered it yet. We haven't dug deeply enough to really think about what's there, and it just seems to be manifesting as pain. So when we kind of settle in and go a little bit deeper, investigate a little bit more internally, turn down that dial of the noise of the outside world and trying to understand in this kind of rapid search for external solutions. And we turn up the dial on the message that comes from the heart, the deeper messages that are coming from inside. Sometimes we can get some really valuable and extremely empowering information. So your body is not your enemy. The pain is not the enemy. It is always trying to communicate with you. Your body is intelligent It is powerful, and it actually has the capacity to heal in a way that is more profound than you've ever been taught to believe. It is constantly trying to adapt. It's working to protect you and also to bring you back into some version of flow and ease and balance. And when you begin to understand that, you make a decision from greater clarity instead of this kind of fear or urgency, right? We're living in this modern world now where everything seems urgent, everything is chaotic because of technology and all of our devices. We're sort of trained now to, we hear a bing and we have to respond. And so our nervous system actually is really being undervalued as far as its role, the autonomic nervous system's role in how we respond and react with pain internally. So the more we kind of can slow down and begin to observe ourselves a little bit, we can get these really valuable key insights. And so this is something that I am very passionate about. We are living in a time when medicine is really strongly kind of leaning in the paradigm of fear. And the minute we get a new symptom, it is not uncommon to start researching, and the what ifs that we are researching are often negative, of course, because when we have a new symptom, the first response is what's going on here, and am I okay? And so as we start to shift out of urgency into a place of understanding that actually good health does not mean symptom free, and good health doesn't even mean pain free. Some of the most important experiences of our life, for example, giving birth to a child, come with pain. So if we start to shift our relationship and understand that sometimes pain is inevitable, but the most important lesson for us here is, what are the things that provide me relief? What are the things that help to move pain when it shows up? How can I treat my body from a place of love and gentleness rather than fear and urgency and suppression? This is where we can start to connect the dots. And because I'm so passionate as an acupuncturist about creating movement with pain, I've created a course called The Transformation of Pain. And it's designed to really help you connect the dots here and learn a little bit, not just about how pain stays stuck, which leads to the frustration and how we can, experience more chronic issues, but some really kind of simple at-home tools that you can use that are supportive, things from whatever's in the kitchen cabinet to using water therapy and even homeopathy to support healing and movement in your own body. And it is designed to sort of give you some tips and techniques on how to change your relationship to pain, especially because what I have seen now in years and years of clinical experiences, pain is emotional. And when we have pain, we have a lot of emotional connections to it. It's, of course, completely understandable that we feel afraid, we can feel frustrated, and we can feel angry. And so how do we navigate these emotions like weather patterns where we can create more dynamic energy, shed a little light, put a little sunshine in there into the darker corners, and find gentle ways how to move this in a more sustainable way?